some of these fish are coming out and going to supermarkets.
They are, and here's my plug. They're delicious. I without shame will tell anglers this. If one jumps in your boat, take it home.
The award-winning Tennessee WildCast is on the air with the latest on hunting, fishing, boating, wildlife watching, and all things outdoors. Make welcome your host, drummer and outdoor expert novice, Jason Harmon.
All right. Hello, everybody, and welcome to this edition of Tennessee WildCast. Thanks for tuning in. Thanks for watching. We've got a great show for you today. Got Cole Harty with us. He's our Aquatic Nuisance Species Coordinator.
Yes.
Or ANS, as I like to call it. Much easier to say. But he's going to be with us today to talk about Asian carp. We're going to get an update on what's going on in the world of Asian carp. Don King is helping me co-host today.
Yeah, you bet, Jason. Thanks for the invite, and looking forward to catching up with Cole, getting to know him a little bit too. He's relatively new here at the agency, so I have to welcome him to the family.
Thank you.
Yeah, we're excited to meet you today. We've worked together for a few months now, and we got to know each other at work. But let's let the other folks learn about who you are and what you do for us. But first, I want to chat about where you came from, how you grew up. Did you grow up in the outdoors? What brought you to the world of fisheries?
Absolutely. I grew up in north central Iowa, a little town called Clear Lake. Loved hunting and fishing growing up. Usually found myself walleye fishing off the dock, trying to do a little turkey hunting here and there. And, that's my dad, my family is into it, so that's kind of how I got into it.
So they passed it on.
Yep.
We like to say that around here. Pass it on,
Right.
I pulled in the parking lot a while back, and actually, Cole drives the same kind of vehicle. I've got a little Ford Escape, and I noticed this Ford Escape. Oh, it looks like my car. And then I pulled up next to it, and Iowa license. Oh, that's good. You don't see many Iowa, Nebraska. Of course, I'm from Nebraska, but originally, but you don't see many from the Midwest around here. So it was. I thought, I wonder who's driving that thing. So anyway, it was good to meet Cole.
That's a long commute.
Yeah, really. I tell you.
Yeah, that's going to be changing. That'll be a Tennessee play here very, very soon.
Well, we're glad to have you here at the agency. So tell folks, where'd you do your studies? Where'd you learn and become a fisheries biologist?
All right. I like I said, I grew up in Iowa. Iowa State University's there, so I traveled down to Ames and did my undergrad in animal ecology at Iowa State. After that, moved on to Tennessee Tech, where I worked on a catfish project. So studied some catfish population dynamics on Kentucky Lake, Chickamauga, and Fort Loudon. So enjoyed my time there, and after that, spent a few years in Florida, 3 years down in Florida as a regional biologist. And here just recently in December, moved back up to Tennessee and started on with the agency here.
All right. Good
wow,
deal.
Left Florida for Tennessee. That's good. The warm, sunny weather. Were you on the coast down there?
I was about halfway between Tampa and Orlando in Lakeland, Florida.
Okay.
So a little bit of a drive, not terrible, but yeah.
We've had a few migrate to Tennessee from Florida, haven't we?
Yeah.
In the wildlife and fisheries world, so that's cool.
Yeah, sorry for stealing your gas down there. But we're happy to have Cole here. So awesome. So you've worked in fisheries for a long time, and for 3 years, I guess now, and you know what you're doing. So we brought you here as the the Aquatic Nuisance Species Coordinator.
Seems like Asian Carp Coordinator.
That's kind of top of the list, I guess, right at the moment. So
a lot with Asian Carp.
Right.
So tell us a little bit about what you do for the agency, and explain to folks that may not know we do have Asian Carp, and what's the issue there.
Right. So, I'm like you said, I'm the I almost said it.
Yeah, there you
Asian
go.
Carp Coordinator. I'm the Aquatic Nuisance Species Coordinator. So, I deal with a lot of the aquatic invasives, the carp, zebra mussels. What else we got? Whirling disease, didymo, things like that, that are impacting the state's native species. Specifically, carp are my big issue right now. We work a lot with a number of other states and a number of other federal agencies, and we're really trying to stop these fish from having a negative ecological impact and economic impact on the state.
That kind of touches on why they're bad, but why? What do they do in the waters? They jump and can cause problems. What's the problem with them, and why don't we want them here?
So Asian carp, in particular silver carp and bighead carp, feed very low on the food chain. They feed on phytoplankton and zooplankton, and they compete with our native fish for that food source. They also can displace our native fish by just the space that they occupy and being such a large biomass in that area. But they compete with paddlefish, buffalo, shad directly, and then also, most of our sport fish, our native sport fish that people are interested in going out and catching, as small larval fish, early in their life, they feed on those same things. So there's a competition there for food that can impact that. And they're also, the silver carp in particular, they're the jumpers. They're the ones that people recognize from videos and photos where there's just tons of fish in the air all at one time, and so they can impact, have an impact on humans as a hazard.
Literally.
Boating. Yes.
Yeah.
Yep. They can jump out of the water and hit you while you're driving down the lake.
Exactly.
So what caused them to jump? What makes them jump?
That's just a fear response, fright. So they're a lot more sensitive to noise and things than any of our native fish are. Now and then, maybe if you're in the back of a really still cove or something like that, if you crank an engine, you might see some of our shad or things like that jumping, flitting out of the water a little bit. But the carp will have that very similar reaction. You'll see these 10, 12 plus pound fish just torpedoing up out of the air.
Wow.
So,
right.
Yeah, I guess if you've browsed the web and looked at some videos, you've probably seen a lot of that.
Right.
And can go check those out online. So,
hey, just dialing back.
Sure.
You're rolling back. How initially did they ever get here?
Hey, that's where I was going.
Oh, really? Oh, okay.
Good one.
Sorry. Didn't mean to
We're on the
steal
same
you.
page,
So, Asian carp were originally brought into the U.S. as, a solution to some problems in aquaculture systems where they would be able to filter that water in aquaculture ponds. And so, like a lot of things with the best of intentions, things got out of hand, and flooding on the Mississippi River allowed those fish to escape from their aquaculture facilities. And so they've been in the Mississippi River, and they reproduce there, and in the Ohio River as well. And, they just are essentially branching out from that point of introduction.
Right.
So in Tennessee reservoir specifically, we see these fish moving up through our navigation logs.
Okay.
Gotcha. And so recently there was one fish reported.
Reported, yeah.
In Chickamauga. And tell us about that fish, what we found, what we heard, the photo. There was a photo going around that kind of confirmed it, I guess you could say. But
right.
Are we worried about that one fish?
So, that fish jumped into an angler's boat while he was out fishing a tournament. He held on to the picture for a little while, and then ultimately sent it in to us. And that fish is a concern, but not nearly to the level that we see some concern further down on our reservoirs on the Tennessee River.
Other bodies of water, yeah.
And we're concerned for all of these systems because they're all connected by our navigation locks. And so I guess we did respond to this, by going out and really looking for more. We take that report and that fish very seriously. So we've had crews out electrofishing and gill netting. TVA and other partners have had crews out looking for fish as well.
So far, so good, right?
So far, we haven't seen any others, and these fish can move a lot. You know, we're doing some studies where we've got tagged fish out and can see that, you know, they can traverse way up and way down the reservoirs and through the locks and back down through the locks, and you know, it's just fish moving. And we're trying to work on stopping it.
Right.
So, but I guess back to some of our reaction to this fish being found in Chickamauga. You know, they haven't been found in Gunnersville to this point, which is below Chickamauga. You know, and we've had very, very few reports of additional fish in places like Wilson or Wheeler and Nickajack. And so it's a concern, but we know that they're very, very few and far between. So,
yeah.
And I know our Creole Clerks are out there too, visiting with anglers all the time. I
Absolutely,
mean, just daily.
They are. They're them and law enforcement are
Right.
You know, two of the most common interactions that we have with our hunters and anglers and outdoorsmen people in general. And so, you know, we've made those Creole Clerks aware, you know, this of Asian carp, and they are helping us spread the message about carp and, you know, the negative impacts that they can have, and really how to prevent moving them around.
So what if someone comes across one of these fish? Do they report it? How do they report it? That kind of thing.
Yeah. So we're interested on a couple of different levels in wanting people to report Asian carp.
Okay.
So I'll start with small, you know, juvenile fish. Oftentimes we refer to these fish as young of the year or YOY. We want reports of fish less than 9 inches from anywhere in Tennessee other than the Mississippi River. Some of the reasoning behind that, you know, we want to be able to document any reproduction that's going on in our reservoirs. And we don't really need to document that so much on the Mississippi River because we know it happens there. So it's a bigger question, you know, as to whether or not fish are reproducing in our reservoirs and how common it is for them to do so, or uncommon. So yes, report fish from anywhere within the state that are less than 9 inches, other than the Mississippi River.
And these are Asian carp only,
Asian carp,
right?
yep. And then we're also interested in reports of any Asian carp, you know, in a place where they're not really known to be well established. Particularly, we think eastern Tennessee, middle and eastern Tennessee. So, you know, we don't need reports of adult silver carp or bighead carp in Kentucky Lake. Again, we know they're there, we know they're established, but further upstream, places like Nickajack, Chickamauga, you know, you think the Cumberland River as well, Old Hickory, we know there are some fish in Old Hickory, but if there are any Cordell Hull, you know, if you run across one, definitely report from there, places like that.
Okay.
And I guess this is where we should say you can report those fish to our ans.twra@tn.gov email address. And please, if you are doing so, include a photo of the fish and location.
Yeah, GPS coordinates with that. Is that what you're looking for on
Yes,
location?
that'd be great.
So you can pinpoint right where that fish was found or seen or whatnot.
Right.
So that's ans.twra@tn.gov to report those. Awesome. So what's some work that's being done now? Are there any surveillance, any work going on to monitor these areas that we're finding fish or hearing about fish?
In terms of new reports, or
Well,
I kind of covered some of that.
Yeah,
I
you
guess.
mentioned heightened surveillance. I guess electrofishing.
Right. Yep. With our electrofishing, our gill netting, you know, we've been. You mentioned Creole Clerks. They're a big one in getting information out. You know, we've been in communication with some of our commercial fishermen Making sure that they're aware, because they're out there often. They're setting nets and different types of gear that where they might encounter these fish more frequently than others. And so that's some of the stuff that we're doing, particularly in regards to those new reports and kind of monitoring on the upper edges of the range right now.
Right.
And as far as knocking back the existing populations that we know about, I know the commercial fishermen have been incentivized to get out there and go after them, haven't they?
Right, they have. Yep, we've got our ACHIP program, which is our Asian Carp Harvest Incentive Program, and that's started in September of 2018. Since that time, there have been over 3.7 million pounds of Asian carp harvested from Kentucky Lake, Barkley Lake, I believe Cheatham and Pickwick are in that mix as well. And even just since July of 2020 here, the beginning of our fiscal year, over 2.5 million pounds of carp were harvested from those lakes.
Wow, so, that's a big chunk.
Yep, yeah. It's big. We're hoping to keep moving up.
Yeah. Explain to folks how that works a little bit.
So our harvest incentive program, it provides an incentive to commercial fishermen and the buyers, based on a pound per pound.
Basically supplementing the price so that they can make it
exactly
viable fish to go after and make a profit.
And they also provide netting materials as well. So to get some of those people started or keep them going, because some of those netting materials are the bigger expenses. Right now we're continually trying to improve the program, and we know there are some issues with how much fish the market can handle right now and things like that. So we're looking at ways to improve things, and I guess there's some things in the works there that hopefully will benefit that program moving forward.
Well, I've seen some grocery stores have started carrying it that I've seen on Facebook and some posts and things. Some of these fish are coming out and going to supermarkets. They
are, and here's my plug: they're delicious. I without shame will tell anglers this. If one jumps in your boat, take it home. Make sure you're not transporting it alive. They are illegal to possess alive. But you can take as many of these darn things home as you want and try to eat them. Fillet them. Look up a YouTube video, and
there's plenty of them out there, aren't there?
And give it a shot. If you mess a fish up, oh well.
You're out. You're out just a little bit of batter and a little time.
We didn't want it in there anyway, so you helped us get rid of one.
I'll have to say I've developed a pretty good taste for those things too, because our guys really know how to cook them up.
Yeah, it's a white flaky fish.
Yeah,
if you can get a good piece without bones, or learn some way to eat them with the bones in, it's good stuff.
Yeah, it's amazing, and it's I like it. If you know what you're doing, it doesn't have a fishy taste.
No, very mild.
I've not had any that was real fishy, so it's good stuff. Good stuff. So what's some of the next steps we're going to try to take, or what are we doing? We talked about the ACHIP program. That's one of them to help stop the spread. We put in barriers, or we haven't particularly. Right. Barriers have been going in and things like that.
So barriers are another a pretty big next step, and that's it's something that we're working on a lot here with our partners, the Army Corps and the TVA and Fish and Wildlife and others. Even the other states in the Tennessee River Basin. We work a lot with Mississippi, Alabama, and Kentucky. But barriers are an extremely important thing for us to try and tackle right now and get in as soon as we can.
They're not cheap, so it takes partnerships, doesn't it, to make those happen?
Absolutely. They're not cheap, and they require a certain amount of environmental review to see what they could potentially impact.
Right.
And so yeah, there's a lot of steps involved. We're making really good progress right now. We're talking with TVA very regularly, and I think we're knocking on the door some good things. As I was saying, with the barriers, they're so important, especially in terms of we don't really know that these fish are reproducing all that well yet. We're monitoring for it. We know there was a good year class of fish. They had a successful spawn somewhere in the Tennessee, Cumberland, or even Ohio in 2015. So right now, a lot of the fish in the system are from that 2015 year class.
Mm-hmm.
And then that kind of spurred us to start monitoring for the small fish, like I mentioned earlier, trying to track any reproduction. Because if they're not reproducing regularly, if it's uncommon or not at all, a combination of barriers and our commercial fishing, we have a chance to really knock these things back. Whether or not they'll ever be eradicated, there's definitely some skepticism on it. I would say I'm a little skeptical myself. But I do think, given those circumstances with limited reproduction, we do have a chance to have a lot better control of them.
Right.
Yeah,
Yep.
that's awesome. And another thing that I had down here is education. Education's a big part of it.
Education is very huge for us. It's a lot of times people don't know what they're looking at. They don't know they're doing something wrong, and trying to get the word out and tell people what's out there, how it's impacting their resources, and simple things, making people aware that when you pull your boat out to go somewhere else, make sure you clean, drain, dry.
Right.
So you're not moving anything around.
Explain to people what that means, clean, drain, dry.
Yeah, it's clean, drain, dry is for lack of a better word, I can't think right now. A program. To when you
campaign.
When you pull your boat out of the water, especially any water that's potentially infested with an invasive species, you want to clean your boat, clean your trailer, make sure you get live wells cleaned out. You're not moving water around. That's the drain component.
Right.
And then let it dry. If you have the opportunity, let your boat sit and dry out, and so that when you do go somewhere else, you're not transporting something alive that could then be introduced and impact a new system.
Right.
Sometimes there are other options. A lot of times people real quick maybe aren't having any success in one spot and want to jump to another real quick. You can do that. Just take the precautions, A certain solution of bleach and water in a live well can do wonders. Or, finding a car wash and or a heated pressure washer somewhere to flush your system, wash your equipment off, things like that. It's really important. And, hopefully people want to be aware of what's there and how they could potentially alter those resources that they enjoy.
Right. And I know that our commission has put in place bait moving restrictions as well. So
right, there are some restrictions down where carp are abundant. They're not statewide right now, so I encourage you to check out the regulations.
TWRA.org.
Yep, and know what your regulations are, where you're fishing. Some of those, like I said, some of those systems where carp are more abundant, we're prohibiting the movement of bait fish that you collect. So if you're out cast netting and like to cast net shad or skipjack or something like that for bait, it can't be moved in those places because you could potentially have a small Asian carp in there with it.
Blends right in.
It does. They look very similar, especially if you're not paying a lot of attention.
A net full of them,
right, yeah, and absolutely a net full of them. And so another thing to bring up there is, it's illegal to release any fish into our bodies of water, public bodies of water. So even your bait, we tell people don't dump your bait out. Throw it in the trash or keep it and use it. Don't dump it out in the lake.
One thing I've always heard, they've encouraged to dump it on the bank, away from the water, or the trash or something. Just get it away from that body of water.
Right. I would say preferably not just on the ground in a public ramp sort of situation, just because you don't want to stink for everybody else. But in the trash is a perfectly okay place.
Right.
Yep. Better than in the water.
Yeah, definitely. So another educational component I wanted to mention is our website. Know your source. Our website, if it's Asian Carp in Tennessee, TWRA is the place to come get that information, right?
Right.
You encourage folks to come there, and they can find all kinds of information. What all can they find there that you?
Oh, there's a bunch of stuff there. Why we're concerned, more of the stuff that we've kind of talked about with when to report certain sizes and species of fish from where. Some of the other efforts that we've had going on, I think there's things about the ACHIP program, about some bow fishing tournaments that we've held before, things like that. And I will say, hopefully by the time this is posted, our website is undergoing, or that section of our website, I'll be doing some revisions there.
Yeah, improvements are coming, so go check it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a great clearinghouse for the latest and greatest info, most accurate information as well, because there's a lot of info out there that isn't necessarily so to speak. So
one thing I think is great, the little distribution map kind of shows you where, people aren't, if they're new to Tennessee or aren't familiar with the systems and how they work, you can see kind of where the fish are moving in and out, and where the Asian carp have been found, or where we don't want them to go, right?
Absolutely.
So we've got not a lot of time left, so let's there's one method, and real quick, that we've trialed, and we're seeing some evidence it might work, right? Modified unified.
Yeah. So the modified unified method was going on in Kentucky. It's a big effort, lots of partners with Kentucky's state agency and USGS, Fish and Wildlife, a ton of others. And we all kind of came together as a group and tested this method out. It's something they've used a lot over in China, I believe, and in smaller systems, but not systems like we have here. I don't know what the final numbers are. That really wasn't the biggest push for this. It was, can this method be used here?
And it's kind of herding groups of fish with big nets and that kind of thing.
Yeah, systematically clearing an abayment of carp. Yeah. And so, a lot of promising stuff came from it. USGS and Kentucky's agency up there will look into what they learned from it and kind of determine from there if it's something that should be used more going into the future.
All right.
Awesome. Well, appreciate you being here.
Thanks, Cole.
Thanks for having me.
Happy we can introduce you to the folks in Tennessee and let people know who you are. And if you got any questions on Asian carp, you can call the agency. We'll try to help you out best we can. And
you bet. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. And
yeah. Tight lines, right? Go fishing.
Absolutely.
Y'all have fun. Hey, the hat's on sale. I forgot to mention this before the show, but $20 on our website, or GoOutdoorsTennessee.com is where you can buy the hat. The same place you buy your licenses, but add it to your cart, take one home. It's a cool hat.
They are going like hotcakes too.
Yeah,
they're really flying out off the shelves.
Yeah. So get yours today. Cole, thank you. Don, thank you.
You bet.
And we'll see you next time on Tennessee WildCast.
Thanks for tuning in. Stay connected with TWRA by visiting our website at tnwildlife.org and follow us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. Hey, it's all about Tennessee wildlife. It's what we do. Tennessee WildCast will be on the air again next week. We'll see you then.